you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Sorry,
you're on the Food Network in Canada, right?
I am, Food Network in Canada, yeah. I was high-fiving the Playboy guy. Sorry, I had to take an extra minute. As Jeff was saying, I do love food, and I love it more for its culture and its symbol and what it means to us as human beings, as well as for the flavor, right? As a Food Network host, you kind of don't really cook. You kind of put things together, mess it up, take a break, someone cleans it and resets it. But I think overall, in terms of our food and our culture and what's happening now, is that we've kind of gone off the rails in how we take food in, how we think about food, and I'm going to sort of explore a little bit of that. Before I do, can I just see a show of hands? In the last week, how many of you have actually sat down to a meal with other people that took more than an hour to consume? Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's like about half of us, right? And okay, so that didn't include this conference. So yeah, cut out the conference. Can I see those hands again? So in your real life, cool, that's good. So that's about half of us. I come from a French-Canadian family. And in Quebec, my aunt and my grandmother would make a huge meal for the entire family, very blue-collar family. The factory whistle would blow, and all the men would come home. And the women would have put together a meal, you know, a roast pork, a roast chicken, a roast beef, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, right? Everything you could imagine, vegetables. And you would have been insane not to enjoy that. And when I contrast that with the childhoods that people are having now, right, fussy kids and overweight kids, and 60% of us, 75 in the US, 60 in Canada, overweight or obese, we've kind of gone off the rails. We've done something wrong. And as a Food Network presenter, as someone who sort of stands in front of the camera and records information that's intended to go outward, I think I'm part of the problem. I think social media is helping change that a little bit. What we've done with food presentation on television is we've turned it into a spectator sport. We've turned it into a competition. We've turned it into all kinds of other things, rather than the way that we intimately and infinitely invite the world into us. And if you think about that for a minute, food comes from the earth, and it is the way that the world communicates with the inside of you. So every cell in your body that's made, I'm a nutritionist, I won't talk too much about that. I know, it's like, oh, boring. Every cell that is made in you comes from that food. It doesn't just happen magically, right? It comes from that. And it's a symbol of the world. It's the way that you engage with the world. And when you start to think of it that way, that has infinite possibilities of an intimate sort of way. As a nutritionist, I get to experience other people's intimate stories about their lives and about their eating lives and about their issues around food and about their concerns and about their weight and all kinds of other things that are intimate for me. And the infinite solution to that is about the nutrients that could go on and on and on. There's stuff that we don't even know. There's a great frontier of study that's happening with that food and what it can do for you as medicine and so forth, as well as that cultural invitation to sort of, break bread. And as an author, I wrote a book called Ace Your Health, and I really wanted to make simple changes for people so that, you make one change a week, and by the end of the year, you're a whole new person. And that was really infinite for me, and that, again, I'm putting information out, but intimate for the reader, because they're there and they feel like I'm there. Same with television. They're there, they feel like I'm in the living room, but I've pressed record. So for me, the experience of how my communication is impacting is completely, it doesn't happen. And I'm a real newbie to your world, to the social media world. I joined Twitter like a year ago, and I went, holy shit, this is it. Like, this is how we get to have an intimate conversation around food. And when I created my website, I really wanted to do that for people, to share the information that I have, but also get the information back so that I can understand better and have that kind of conversation. So some of the interesting questions that I learn there and on Twitter are things like, how does a North American know when they're finished their meal? Right? The plate is empty is what most North Americans will say. But in France, if you ask the same question, they'll say, when the food no longer tastes good. So there's a real difference there, and I think if we can share that kind of information, then we're getting somewhere on this topic. I have lunch with Twitter just about every day. I do, I'm a writer, so I tend to sort of be alone. And I tweet out my lunch, and I make, a picture. I can't see the numbers. I'm too short. Okay, we're good. I'll tweet out a picture of my lunch and sort of say, this is what I'm doing. And for me, it feels like I'm actually with other people. And one of my Twitter followers said, aren't you fetishizing food? Isn't that what that's about? And I don't think so. I think what that social media can do is create that community again, because we are all living in these silos, in these isolated lives, and it's no longer about inviting the world in. Whereas if we can do that virtually, I think it has the power to change the world, and it has the power to sort of, convey that information. One of the interesting rituals that we do before a meal is we raise our glass, right? I was just thirsty. And we go clink. And what that is intended to do is engage our senses. It engages the sound, it engages the touch, it engages that to sort of wake you up to the experience of inviting the world in to become a part of who you are. And when you think about that, it's a ritual that's intimate between two people when they clink, but it's happened over and over and over again, across populations and over time, and it will continue to happen. But when you really think about it, what it is it's an invitation to invite the world into you, to communicate with the planet and actually invite the people into you. And I would sort of challenge you to address the next meal that way with other people. I don't care if it's on Twitter or a real person, but to engage that. And when you do that, cheers, to realize that that's about taking the infinite world and making it an intimate part of who you are. Cheers.